Welcome to Simply Robotics, the podcast, a podcast exploring the animation industry one episode at a time. I'm your host, Monique. You can find me on all social media platforms at Simply Robotics. Robotics is spelled ROBOTIX. When listening to the show, use the hashtag SimplyRoboticsPod to join in the conversation. Today is the day I'm finally releasing the first official Diverse Tunes panel audio back from September 2018. We were hosted by the BFA Computer Art Department, at SVA, and that's the School of Visual Arts based here in New York City. It's also the program I graduated from. So I'm just going to give you a heads up that I had to do some editing of things due to non-disclosures, but I tried to make it as smooth as possible for you all. But this is also why you should attend the panels when they're here in New York City or when we come to a city near you. But just in case you're unable to make it, that's why I decided to start releasing the audio slowly but surely. Depending on the conversations, we'll begin to start getting them in the future. But right now, let's check this panel out. My name is Monique Henry-Hudson. I am a graduate of the SBA Computer Art Department. I graduated in 2011. I'm a visual artist and illustrator. I write about animation on my website, Simply Robotics. And most recently, I was working for the past 2.5 years at Blue Sky Studios as a story production assistant. And that's where I met Dre and Matt. And right now, I am figuring things out. And one way or another, I got an opportunity to create a Black in Animation panel for Blurred City Con in Brooklyn in July, and that led to the creation of Diverse Tunes and having an opportunity to hear from people in the animation industry that you don't usually see, but who are definitely there contributing to a lot of our favorite cartoons and movies and things that we see and we consume often. So that was me, and I'm going to take you through our panelists. Right. To my left, I have Pilar Newton-Katz. Just checking, can everybody hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. So Pilar has directed, illustrated, and animated for Nickelodeon, Nick Jr., Cartoon Network, MTV, Serious Thinking, among many others. Her print work includes several children's books for Nickelodeon and illustrations for Nickelodeon's Nick Jr. magazine, the Miami New Times, and the internationally distributed Power Girls magazine. Pilar also has her own company called Pilar Tunes LLC that is currently based in Brooklyn and has been in business since 2001. Next, we have Matt Munn. He received his animation.
Thank you. There you go.
Matt received his animation education at Savannah College of Art and Design. After college, he worked at Fathom Studios in Atlanta, Georgia, and freelanced for Real Effects in Texas and Hornet Studios in New York City. Since then, he has been an animator at Sony Pictures Imageworks, DreamWorks Animation, and most recently at Blue Sky Studios. Matt Munn, everybody. Yay!
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Next, we have Andre Rodriguez. Dre graduated from the Art Institute of California in San Francisco with a BA in Media Arts and Animation. He has since worked at DreamWorks as a visual development production assistant and modeler, and he's currently at Blue Sky Studios as a modeler. So.
He also models on the side. Look at these good looks. Come on now.
That's you, man.
So we'll just go down and everyone can share how they actually got started in the animation industry.
Should I, are we doing left to?
Right now, we'll do it that way.
Oh yeah, sure. Hi, sorry, let me start. Suddenly I'm starting. Yay, it's wonderful to be here. Well, I went to the Rhode Island School of Design about 1 million years ago, and then shortly after I graduated, and by the way, how many of you are students? Raise your hand. I see a lot of students. I see a lot of my former students. Don't worry if it takes you a couple of years to get in, because you're still animators and you have more stories to tell, enjoy that. But a couple of years after I graduated, I met a guy named John Dilworth, and he said, hey, you want to animate on my short films? I was like, sure. He went on and got picked up for Courage the Cowardly Dog, and that was my my first gig, and I was a prop designer and a storyboard revisionist on that show, and then I went on to be a layout artist on Daria for MTV, and then I went on and did work for MTV commercials and various studios in and around the city. And since 2008, I've been Pilar Tunes, and I'm now getting my MFA across the street, visual narrative department. So I'm kind of taking it from there. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I want to say that I can't remember the Instagram account that shared you, but when I found out that you worked on Courage, I was like, I have to get her on the panel. Yeah.
Was this someone that had like mentioned me, or was it my Instagram?
No, I think someone like reposted you. It was like highlighting. Yeah.
Oh, it might have been my department because so
Actually, maybe.
MFA visual narrative across the street. So at the thesis end of year party for one of my classmates, I drew Courage. She's on a big piece of paper, and they took a picture of it. Next thing you know, they Instagrammed it and said, "Hey, like class of 2020, Pilar worked on Courage. You can't really check it out." And it's funny because ages ago, I had taken it like off my resume. I'm like, oh, I worked on it over 10 years ago. That's old news. And then I started teaching. And then when I meet all these young people, like, oh, yeah, I've done a little thing called Courage the Cowardly Dog. One girl started crying. I was like, stop, what's going on? What? So it's like got such a response. I actually put it back on my resume. Like people still love this show. It's like, I was like, whoa, so
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, it creeped me out, but it's definitely memorable.
Creep me out.
Cool. All right. So I'll try to be brief because I can be long-winded. It's an issue I have. Basically, I went to school undergrad at University of Delaware for computer science, and just knew I wanted to be a game programmer. So I was, doing that 3.5 years. I was into my senior year when I went to one of the chairs of the graphics department in this computer science department at UD, and was like, hey, I want to make video games. I want to get down with tell me some extra stuff that I can do on the side to give me that leg up, because I'm doing all the classwork, but I'm the type of person that wants to take the initiative and be doing my own personal stuff on the side to compete when I graduate, with all the other people that want to get into computer game design and all, or game programming. And what he sold me was, I have this summer program going on, and we got all these PhD students working on some graphic stuff, and we need somebody to come and do some of the grunt work, which to them was learning this application called Maya and designing these characters that the PhD students can drive with their web design, recognition code, all this high level stuff, So I was like, I never heard of Maya, but I'll do anything. I'm down. Let's do it. So I went and got a book, Maya Fundamentals, started learning the ins and outs of building characters and all this stuff. And right away I was like, uh-oh, this is way more interesting to me than the programming aspect of, the game thing. So I was like, oh man, I'm about to graduate this year. What do I do? So I declared an art minor my senior year, started taking all these art classes because I knew I was like, all right, I need to go somewhere where I can learn how to do this, because this is what I want to do professionally eventually. And I put together the dumbest looking reel. If I had that reel today, this was 2001, 2002, so VHS tapes, you know what I'm saying? I don't know where the heck this thing is, but it was really rough. And I sent it to every school, including SVA. Got rejected here, got rejected. I got rejected by 5 schools that I later went and spoke at. You know what I'm saying? Crazy. And I say it I just throw it out there just to let people know, yo, you can get, have a rough kind of, path, but you just gotta stay persistent. Anyway, I did get accepted in the Savannah College of Art and Design, and so there I started, learning. I took a bunch of classes, modeling, lighting. You take, the whole thing. And it wasn't until I took the animation class, my first animation class, that I realized wow, this is it. Because going to school, I had this idea that I was going to be designing the characters, the video game characters, the modeling, texturing, all that stuff. But took that first animation class and fell in love. It was that when you, I say all the time, it's when you're dating, and then you meet someone, and it's just oh, this is different. You know what I mean? I thought I knew what I needed, but this is it. And right away, I just focused on animation.
Dangerous analogy right
Yeah, you're right. But you get what I'm saying? Like when something just clicks with your like spirit, like when I'm working on this, I'm like in a zone. Like I don't feel like I'm working. Like I feel like I'm like expressing myself. You know, it's weird. So anyway, like decided like this is what I wanted to do, and just focused on animation throughout all of my couple years. I was in the MFA program, and got an internship, Fathom Studios. Never went back. I didn't ever actually graduate, believe it or not. I had like one more semester with my like senior thesis or whatever I had to do, but the internship was like 6 months. Then they were like, "You want to stay a little longer?" I was like, "Yeah." And then next, Sony was like, "We're doing a mass hire. We need, young animators and stuff." And I had been competing in. Has anybody? How many people here are like animators? Raise your hand. Do you guys know the 11-second club? So back in the day, it was 10-second club, and I was competing in that every single month. Like it was like part of what I did. Like I was doing my classwork. I was also working on my 10-second club animation and losing every time. But I finally won one, and I won it right at the perfect time when Sony was hiring, and somebody there was like, "Yo, who did the winner of the 10-second club? We need to get him." So they reached out to me. It was like, "Yo," it was great. They were like, "Hey, are you looking for an opportunity? Because we got this feature, open season 1. We're trying to finish this up. It's all hands on deck." I was like, "Let's go, giddy up." Flew out to LA, never went back to SCAD. One day I might finish that master's degree. But from there, was there for 5 years, worked on a bunch of stuff there. Open season, Surf's Up, Cloudy, I Am Legend,
You worked
Speed
on Surf's
Racer.
Up? I love
all
Surf's
of, yeah,
Up.
from everything from like 2005.
Oh my God, I love Surf's Up so much.
Yeah, that's one of the best ones.
Oh my
I
God.
am legend.
Yeah, but Cloudy was the most fun because that was just silly the whole time. Like, yeah, so we could talk about that later. But yeah, I was there from 2005 to like 2009. Went to DreamWorks for like the end of How to Train Your Dragon through Puss in Boots, and then came to Blue Sky because I'm from Delaware and always wanted to stay like on the in the Northeast to be close to mom and dad and all them. And so I made my way back 2011, something like that, and been at Blue Sky ever since. Worked on Ice Age 4 or 5, all the Ice Ages,
15.
Rio 2, Peanuts, all the most recent ones, Ferdinand, all that stuff as an animator. So yeah, and then met this guy at Blue Sky.
We met in the gym.
We met in the gym. Was like, "What's up? What's up? You need a spot? Yeah, let's get it." And we've been close ever since. So anyway, yeah, that's my story.
Hold on a second. I take issue. You said who's an animator, and I see people in the audience did not raise their hand.
How dare you?
Kayla,
Don't be ashamed.
John. I see several former students that didn't raise their hand. I'm getting y'all later. Getting all of you later.
Uh-oh. Wow.
That's what you get when you have a bossy teacher.
All the rest of them.
Yeah.
From on blast. Okay, so I'm Dre. My journey was a little bit different. So I grew up in a small town in California called Marysville, and I got a colorful past. We won't go into all that, but my colorful past led me to I didn't graduate high school, and shortly after I was supposed to graduate, shortly after that, I got arrested and a whole bunch of stuff with that, and then eventually went to prison. And I ended up at San Quentin first, and then got transferred over to Tracy State Prison. And in Tracy, they actually had a drafting program and a 3D program over there. And I was like, "What is this stuff?" And the teacher over there, he brought in a magazine that had what movie was it? Independence Day. It had the spaceships and stuff on the magazine. He said, "With those programs, you could do this. You could do this stuff." I'm like, "Nah, that's bullshit." and so, pardon French, I cuss a lot.
So bleep it out later.
So he took me. So I was doing drafting first on the big drafting tables. Then he took me into the room and he showed me like Soft Image and 3D Studio Max and AutoCAD. I was like, "Oh, this is crazy." So I was in there for almost 3 years, and I was working on these programs. And then when I got out, I went right back to Marysville. You got to parole where you're from. You have to parole back to that same town. I'm like, ain't nothing like that gonna happen for me. So I went and started working at the dump. Good job, good benefits, good crew. It was cool over there. The dump was a good place to work. So I actually got a brochure out of the blue from the Art Institute. Came in the mail. I was like, I wonder. All right, let me see what's cracking. So after I got off parole, I went and checked it out. Went to San Francisco. Okay, this is cool. You know, I can do this. So I started college in 2000 at the Art Institute. Graduated 2005. I took a whole bunch of classes. I was so out of my league in this stuff. I had to take classes sometimes 3 times. I had to take the same class over and over again. So it was just a lot of uphill battles for me. Still to this day too. So a person I met there at the Art Institute got a job at PDI, and I helped him with his reel. And he said, if I can do anything for you, I'm going to help you out. Little did I know he was still following my school career while he was working. So then when I was supposed to be graduating, he had been talking to the faculty, asking when I was going to be graduating. So he actually had it set up where I go meet the head of facilities. And that's how I got into PDI. I started in facilities, delivering mail and moving desks and stuff like that. And he says, once you get in here, I said, yeah, don't trip, man. Just get me through the first door. I got everything else. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? So I got into facilities, and then I just slowly worked my way up. I went to PA, or front end PA, which they cover 8 departments at the same time. So I was a production assistant for 8 departments. And then from that, I went to a coordinator position. After coordinator, I went back to facilities as a dispatcher, and then back to art PA. I went to another PA position, and then in the art department, that's when I got my chance to like try my hand out modeling. This whole time I've been training, though, I had to completely retrain myself to model like DreamWorks, the way DreamWorks models. So I had to retrain myself, and the modeling department, they all had my back. I had a lot of mentors in there. So when I got the chance to actually do some modeling, How to Train Your Dragon, they threw out half the film when they were working on How to Train Your Dragon, the first one. And it's a good thing because it was trash. So at the beginning, so they threw out half the film. So they said, who here wants to try their hand out at modeling? Well, my supervisor in the art department went to the head of modeling and said, hey, you want this guy right here? He's the best you got. That's not even modeling. This dude is the one you want. So I had to do a test. There was like 10 of us in a room. We all did a test or whatever. 3 of us got hired as temp modelers for How to Train Your Dragon. I was only on it for 5 weeks, and in those 5 weeks, I guess I made a good enough impression where when they said my last rounds, when they were reviewing my work, they said this is Gray's last week. And Matt Paulson down south in the Glendale campus, I heard him say, why is it his last week? Is he leaving? What's going on? And I was like, hey, I don't know what's going on, Matt. I want to stay, but they said it's my last week. You know what I'm saying? So that was the first time I modeled on a film officially at PDI. And then after that, I was doing basically PA work and modeling at the same time. A lot of times I'd have to come in on weekends, and I'd work from Saturday to Sunday. So I would just sleep at the studio. You know, they didn't like that. I didn't care. I was like, if you really don't want me sleeping at the studio, just give me a damn contract and we good. You know what I'm saying? So that was for about, I don't know. How long was that? How long was I doing that?
I think you did like a little bit over a year.
Over a year? Really? Jesus, not healthy. So I was doing that. I was doing the PA work and modeling at the same time. Weekdays I stayed around like 10, 11 o'clock at night, and then on weekends I stayed from Saturday to Sunday. Eventually, they were going to put me on Megamind, and then at the last second before I was going to get hired, for some reason, I didn't get the job. It was supposed to go down, it didn't happen. Well, they figured that I wasn't ready yet to be a full-time modeler, and I respected that, and I just kept going. They said, well, he's going to go and do PA work for now. So I told the head of modeling, I'm still going to model. Whether or not you use the models, I'm going to go into all the artwork. I'm going to talk to the supervisor. If she gives me work to do, I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're stupid enough not to use it, because you're saving on money here. If you're stupid enough not to use it, that's on y'all. But I'm going to keep modeling. So they didn't want to lose me because I'm such a good employee. I kept modeling on Megamind, and eventually I went to Madagascar 3, I believe. And then the production designer saw my work on Madagascar 3 at the beginning, and she went to the top people and said, I want him on this film officially.
That's my favorite one.
Maddox Green.
That's the one with the circus, right?
That movie drove me crazy.
That's my favorite one. I love that.
It looks cool. I'll just say that. So
it was gorgeous.
The production designer basically told me, you're going to be on full time. I'm going to go talk to the people. You're done being a PA. And so after that, I was basically a modeler. I was just straight up modeler. I was done with the PA work or whatnot. I think I worked on Madagascar. The last thing I worked on was Sherman and Peabody. And then the layoffs happened at PDI. There was a whole bunch of layoffs. I got hit in the third round. And then after getting laid off, it kind of, being laid off was a tough thing to deal with. So my lady's right there, Nicole. She's the one that says, she saw me at home, like, going through it. And she says, you're always happy when you're doing artwork, I said, that's true. She says, so sit down and model something. I was like, yeah, I should. So I just got on, I just started working again and started working on my reel and modeling, learning ZBrush and modeling different stuff and challenging myself. And then a friend of mine that came from Blue Sky out to DreamWorks, his name Dave Strick, he got me connected with people at Blue Sky. Little did I know, one of my teachers was over there. His name is Gerald Yu. He was a teacher at AI. And once he heard that I wanted to come over there, that was pretty much it. He put in a good word for me. Dave Strick put in a good word for me. And I ended up at Blue Sky in 2013, August. And that's where I've been ever since. And I've been working on all the crazy stuff over there, pretty much. It's been cool.
That's awesome.
I like it. And I met this dude right here. It's Crazy Cat.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Okay, so before the panel officially started, I overheard some bit of conversation about what people are doing now to get into the industry. And I just would like for each of you to talk a little bit, comparing your entryways with maybe do's and don'ts from getting into the industry now. Or what you're seeing, or what you, I don't know, maybe advise to do less of or more of.
Well, something really ironic? We were talking about don't just walk into an animation studio and ask for a job. And that's essentially how I got my first animation gig. But actually, no, wait, this was in 1996. My sister, I just dated myself. I didn't even go myself. I had sent my sister. I'll explain. Okay, so she was, my sister's an amazing singer, and at the time she was working for a music publicity outfit that was in a small office, and she said next door, a little animation studio moved into the, it was one of those big kind of loft buildings that had a bunch of offices in it. And I said, there's an animation studio next door. And by then I'd been searching everywhere. It was one of those things that I would go in, they always liked my work. And then they would say, oh, we like your work, but we can't hire you because you don't have any experience. So you got a chicken and the egg thing. It's how am I supposed to get experience if you don't want to hire me? So I got that so many times, but everybody really liked my work. So finally I said, oh man, could you go in there and just get his info? And she said, I did better than that. I went in and introduced myself and said, hey, my sister's an animator. And he said, tell her to call me. So that was John Billworth. So I gave him a call. But it was literally my sister just walked in and said, my sister's an animator. And he was in a teeny tiny studio about a quarter the size of this room. And he said, great, tell her to call me. So it was literally I didn't even walk in. I sent my sister, But compared to nowadays, see, the thing is you guys are lucky because you have something that I didn't have. You have internet. Back in the day, I would have had to let me make copies of 10 VHS tapes and put my label on each one and then put them each into bubble wrap envelopes and put them all in the mail. And hopefully some studios, a couple studios, you might get lucky and have the studio send it back to you.
Send it back.
And then real. Nowadays, you have your stuff online. You could put up your portfolio website and say, here's my link, business card,
links.
boom. Back in the day, I used to have
money.
one of those books with the sleeves. And then you have to spend hundreds of dollars making color copies and then sending them out. And then you actually could include a postage paid envelope so they could put it back in the mail and send it back to you. There was but I got one of my best gigs. I sent my work to Nickelodeon Creative Resources, and this was back when I was at Daria, and I didn't hear from them, right? So we were all on the same floor. I was on the 31st floor. It's at 1533 Broadway, 50th and Broadway. And Nickelodeon Creative Resources was at the 32nd floor. And I said, I'm going there. No, I'm sorry. This is at 1515 Broadway. So it was actually, I was at 50th, I was at 42nd. All Viacom, though. So I said, I'm going to march in there and ask for my portfolio back. Those things are not cheap, the kind with the sleeves.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to go in there and just nicely ask for it back because you guys didn't hire me. You don't need it. I could use it to send to other studios.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked in and there was a nice lady at the desk and I said, excuse me, I sent you my portfolio a few weeks ago. Do you by any chance still have it on file? And she said, yes, we do. And I said, wait a minute, are you guys testing for anything right now? And that was back in the day where you do like an art test. She said, actually, we are. We're testing for rocket power. We need artists to do a rocket power book. And at the time, I was like a gigantic fan of the show. And I said, can you give me one of those tests? And she said, sure. She reached under her test and like handed it to me. So that was walk-in number 2, by the way. And I was actually marching in there to take my portfolio back. I ended up walking out of there with like potential best gig I ever got because after 9/11 happened, they shut down MTV Animation. And I was there at the meeting when they announced it. And I was like, that's because nobody wanted to spend money on anything anymore at the time. But I still had like 2 children's books I was making like 10 grand a pop on. So I was okay for a while. So by the way, even if you get a full-time job, but always have some stuff on the side, man. Like my coworkers were making fun of me because they were like, why do you have side gigs? Like you have a freelance job. You have a full-time, well, you're a permalancer. That's what they said to me. And I was like, oh yeah, but like I always want to have an iron in every fire. Ha ha ha, Pilar, you're crazy. The next day, studio gets shut down. It happened another time. I was working at Funny Garbage. We were working on a as yet unnamed show for Disney Channel. Everybody was like, ha ha ha, Pilar, you're so silly. You go home and do freelance. Ha ha ha. Don't you know we're full time now? The next day, they called a meeting and said Disney had pulled the job. And everybody was like, whoa, wee-yo, way-yo. And I was like, I was mad sad. I was really sad, don't get me wrong. But I went home and I worked on my 3 freelance gigs. So, and then I ended up getting, and I got a directing gig the following month. So, just got to have stuff on the side.
Yeah, man.
I don't know if I answered your question.
I mean, in the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still a good story.
Yeah. So one thing that is kind of relative is like what you said about just keep creating. Like, I feel like the people who, in school personally, that did the best were people who loved it so much that they did above and beyond the Call of Duty. So it's just, and this probably applies outside of like art and animation and whatever. Like, it's like, if you're just going to do your schoolwork and you might not, and like just that, like you're not going to be able to compete with the person that loves it so much that they're like, all right, I'm doing my schoolwork, but also got this and this and this, and I'm so busy like doing side little projects with my buddies and this and that you're so passionate about it that you're like, I'm at school. Like, it's funny. I'll say this. I think the most valuable thing that I got from school was the connections with me and the other students, more so than the education, because like even some of my professors, they had just graduated themselves, a couple of them back when I was in school. So they were like, they were just basically like, here's a lesson, and it's straight out of like a book that I just bought at Barnes and Nobles. Like, I'm like, all right. And then they'll just show, he or she'll go over, the tutorial that I just followed. I'm like, I could do this myself. Why am I paying $30,000 a year? You know what I'm saying? But the thing that I just mentioned that is worth that money was like the bonds that I made with like my classmates, a bunch of whom were essential in some of the eventual opportunities I got. Like Blue Sky was hiring, and my buddy Paul was like, hey, Munn, you still interested in Blue Sky? Like, if he hadn't called me, I wouldn't have been aware that he was like, yo, we just had a bunch of people leave. They're hiring. They're looking for people with experience. This is the time. And because I know Paul, I don't have to go to the, like, I don't have to go the traditional route. I just like, yo, here's my link. Get it to who, and he goes right to the supervisor. My man Matt is awesome. Check this link out. And the dude would be working, be like, oh, I'll look at it right now. Bam. Get them, you know what I mean? And it's because I wasn't an asshole. I was cool. And we were speaking about this like in school. We were speaking about this before we got started. I know a couple guys, because it's a very like art school mentality where you're like, I'm competing with everyone else, and you guys got this like superiority kind of thing going on where, especially if you're good, like a lot of good like artists, whether you're animator or whatever, you're good. Compared to some of the other students around you, and you have this arrogance to you, and you're like, you guys are beneath me type of thing. I know a few of those people that struggle in the industry later because, swear to goodness, their reels look great. Somebody's like, hey, one instance in particular I'm thinking about, I'm not going to use names, but just hit up people in the department like, hey, anybody work with this guy? We about to bring him in. Couple people like, he's an asshole. Done. From school. They were like, yeah, like this is the type of, straight up, his reel was better than 80% of the animators at Blue Sky. Didn't even get in the door to even fly him to get an interview because two people were like, I know him from school and he was a jerk 10 years ago. You get what I'm saying? Don't be that person. So, you know what I'm saying? You collaborate on things with people, recognize that you need each other. Like, this is a team sport. We don't make movies by ourselves. So the same, aspect of, the collaborative, aspect of like working on a project in school is you apply those same things to, the professional world. You got to be able to work with people. You got to be able to, like, when I'm working on a shot, be like, hey, Eric, Andy, yo, come here real quick, homies. Look at this. Like, what do I need? Oh, you should hold this for 2 more frames and then punch it here. And boom, that just takes it to the next level. But if I don't have those relationships and I'm not cool enough to tap into that, like people don't mess with me like that or whatever. Like, I'm not drawing on all the best of the people around me because like together we're way better than any of us are, as individuals. So I say, to answer your question, don't be a jerk to people. Work with people. Build those bonds that might carry out after beyond school and everything, and then just keep grinding on your stuff so you're stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Because for me, when open season did that mass hire, I just happened to be working on my 10-second club thing. You feel me? Like if I was just doing my regular work on Delgo and not grinding doing it, because I was doing the 10-second club stuff while I was working at Fathom. So I wasn't even in school. I was like doing an internship thing. So point is that I just happened to be in a great situation of being ready so that when they were like, yo, we're doing a mass hire, I was like, my reel is already ready. There it is. What's up? You know what I mean? So I feel like you just stay hungry, grinding, you know what I mean? Honing your craft and, making connections. That would be my answer to the question. I don't know if you got anything you want to add or not.
I think I'll add be honest with who you are, because everybody's different. We all have our do's and don'ts. We all have our quirks, and you know what I mean. I think if you try to fit into some type of pocket, if you try to fit in, then you start to be someone else, and that's too expensive, right? Because if you're trying to fit into some type of mold, then when people find out that you're the real you, they might not like the real you. Now you gotta walk it back. Now you look like a weirdo. You know what I'm saying? So be who you are, and understand that the people that you're around, the fact that you're different from everybody else, is your currency. You know what I mean? The diversity of any studio. If you go to any studio or gaming company, the diversity is what makes it great. So believe me, you already fit there the way that you are. You know what I mean? So that's the first thing. Because when I started at PDI, and I was in facilities. I acted the same in facilities as I did in modeling when I got my modeling position. Even when it was time for me to move my desk, I moved my own stuff. They were like, "Well, we don't have artists." I was just a PA 2 weeks ago. Stop being weird. I can move my own desk. You know what I mean? I'm still me. You know what I'm saying? I still bench 315. Get out my way. I'll move my own desk.
310.
You know what I mean?
310.
So,
I'm sorry.
3 plates of 315. So always be you, and don't get caught up in that hype. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people, when I became an artist, they're like, "Oh, you're an artist now." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm still Dre though."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm still the guy that was in facilities delivering mail and stuff. I'm just doing a different job now. But me, the respect I have for my coworkers and the amount that I'm willing to do for my team, the amount I'm willing to go to help my team finish something is still the same.
Yo,
you know what I mean?
Real quick, just because you made a good point. Like when I say don't be a jerk, I guess the biggest thing that you see is arrogance in the industry.
Oh, I'm about to get to that.
And that's what I'm saying. You're getting to that. I can see you're getting to that. Yeah, like being humble.
I had people treat me differently when I became an artist.
Right. That's
and
big.
I was a PA
That's
2
a
weeks
thing.
ago.
That's a real
and then
thing.
now that I'm an artist, people are walking on eggshells around me. I said, you're a weirdo. And I told people that, you weird. Because you think I'm changing, not you changing, man. So stay who you are, the person you are right now, where you're hungry and you're doing your homework and you're staying up late and you're working on weekends. If you stay that person, you're gonna excel at whatever you do. Because that's what people want to be around. People want to be around those people that'll be in the trenches with them. You know what I mean? So if you're that person now, stay that way. Don't think that now that you got this position, you're good. You're not good. Because you don't own the company. Right? I got laid off, and I got laid off in the third round, but still, when the first round came, it was like, Dre, it might go down. I'm like, hey, shit happens, you know? I gotta say it. Second round, same thing. So, in those waters, if you remain you, they're gonna say, like, when I was told about Blue Sky, or when Blue Sky was told about me, Gerald said, I remember how Dre was in school. That dude would stay there until the school closed. To try to get his stuff right. Yeah, we want him over here. So that was the memory that he pulled out of his mind about me, and that was years, before. So definitely stay yourself. And there's gonna be times where it's gonna be hard for you to do that. Dig in. Don't buckle. You know what I'm saying? If you face to face with somebody that's supposedly on a higher up than you on the hierarchy or whatever, dig your heels in. Now this is me, bruh. I ain't changing. You know what I'm saying? However we gotta work this thing out, we're gonna work it out. But as long as I give you your respect, as long as I'm working my ass off, you're gonna have to keep take me as I am. Stay that way, and you'll land where you're supposed to land.
Can I add to that real quick?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, with the thing you mentioned about treating people based on how you value their artwork, like, that is a huge thing. That's a problem, like, with the artists, like, community, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've seen that.
School
Weird
and
shit.
professional.
Weird.
So, for instance, you might be in school, and like I said, like, oh man, in this class, those 3 or 4 or 5 people, they're like the best. And then the rest of us, and then these people down here suck. Like, even if you don't verbally say, you think these things. And I swear to goodness, like, when I was in school, for instance, like, I was just, whatever, just some nobody. Then, like, maybe I'll do some shot that people see, and they're like, yo, Matt did that. And all of a sudden, people are like, hey, man, how's it going? And you're like,
Matter of fact, hold on.
Go
ahead. I'll give you an example, a perfect example.
All right.
So when I first started at PDI, I told them on the permit. I walked up there and I said, how you doing? I'm Dre. You're gonna see me a lot. I'm gonna be all in your shit, right? Because I want to be a modeler, right? I want to be on the team. So one of the modelers, he would commute from Utah. I know that's weird. He commuted from Utah to California. It's weird. He's gangster. I got respect for him. So anyway, we went out to lunch one time and they invited me out, and I wasn't a modeler yet in the department. And so they were like, yeah, this is Dre. We're teaching them how we do things here at PDI. Blah blah blah. And his name was Artie. Artie said to me, oh, Dre, you want to be a modeler? I said, no, bro, I am a modeler, but I want to join the team though. You let people know who you are. You let them know that you don't define me, I define me. And then you say, but I want to be a part of your thing. I want to be a part of what you're doing, and I'm willing to work my ass off to get there. You know what I mean? How you start and how you finish, if you can make those things the same as much as you can, you're gonna be butter.
Yeah,
and good,
recognize that you are not, your sense of self or your value should not be connected to your work like that. That's separate. And similarly, the other people, you should value other people and treat them with maximum respect. I don't care if their work looks like trash to you, if they're like very, coming in with very little experience, or if they're like the best artist you've ever seen. Because like if you just treat people that way, and I'm saying this because it's actually a thing, man. Like in school, big time, like that person that you look at that doesn't have as much experience as you, that's like, hey dude, like I like what you did here, like can you show me how you did that? Like if you just brush them off like that guy used to do, that got blackballed kind of because he was a jerk, it's like you don't realize that like that same person could be, you'll run into them again 8 years from now and they're going to be nasty potentially. I've seen people come in, oh my God, does anybody here know Jeff Gabor at Blue Sky? See? Oh yeah. Point is, this dude, man, he's a supervisor. He might be the nastiest animator in the industry, maybe. He's up there. He'd be in the top 5. This dude, he's the guy that animated the intro of like the Blue Sky thing where Scrat like comes down on the logo. Jeff Gabor came into Fathom Studios when I had already been there for like 3 months. Young, out of school, real on VHS. He's like, hey guys, what's up? Like, I'm happy to be here. He's like, you're Matt Munn. I saw your 10-second thing. And he was like, oh man, like really humble. And I was like, yo, that was Jeff Gabor. And at the time, I've never been the type of person that's like, let me see what you worked on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh, what's up, man? Whatever. We were cool.
Have you met cats like that?
Yo, all the time. That's what I'm trying to say. There are people, artists do this, man, where they're just like, okay, like you're a junior level animator. You came in as a temp, whatever. Like, I'm not even going to try to remember your name. And then all of a sudden, you're watching dailies and you see some crazy shot. You're like, wait, Brandon did that? And next minute it's like, hey, dude, what's up, man? You want to go get lunch? Like, nah, don't treat them different now. You know what I'm saying? So be humble and, you know, treat everybody with ultimate respect and help elevate people around you. Because at the end of the day, you know, like people take off at different times. You know what I mean? And now y'all snowboard. And people say when you ski, it's easier at the beginning. It takes a long time to ramp up. Snowboarding just sucks, and then you get it. You know what I mean? Some people get it at weird times. Like somebody might be just all right, and they get it like later.
That was me. I was the worst modeler in my class. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was the worst. I was horrible.
And if somebody treats you like trash, and then next you know you get it, and you surpass all these other people.
You know, when I was in college, there was one kid. I forgot his name. There was one kid in class that said he learned some new stuff on ZBrush, and I said, well, if you ain't trying to share with the class, what I give a damn about it for?
right.
Go, I'll share. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you're trying to hide side, I ain't got time for that. You know what I'm saying? Either we're a team or we're not. So, but definitely, always treat everybody with respect. And when it comes down to being a part of the team, just be ready to be in the trenches with them, man. That's what I did. You know, when I was working the long weekends and stuff, I said, I'm ready to go. Whatever you need me to do, let's do this. They were like, we appreciate everything you're doing. For sure, but I appreciate y'all for giving me the chance. You know, because you didn't have to.
Okay, so I want to ask one more question before I open it up for the audience.
Okay.
So the importance of, or what makes this panel different from a whole bunch of other animation panels is the panelists, right? We convey ourselves differently from most of the people that we usually see. So by having you guys on here, I would like to ask, why is it important to have opportunities like this, to hear from voices like you all? Why is it important for people to come out to things like this, the significance for it?
I wouldn't have been able to answer that question a few years ago very effectively, and I'm not even sure if I could effectively answer it now, but it became important to me when I became an educator. And most of my students are like these beautiful brown faces looking at, okay, I'm going to shut up now because I can't.
Oh.
They're just, all I want to do is,
Yeah. No, man.
all I want to do is empower them.
Yeah.
One of my students out there, you know what's really crazy? I'll give you an example. On my very first day as an educator at City College of New York, I actually got in front of my class and immediately started crying. And they're like, why are you crying, Professor? And I'm like, because I'm really honored to be here, you know. And then I was completely embarrassed, like I am now.
Don't be.
But I'm about to embarrass someone else, like the amazing Kayla Solomon is in the audience. She goes to City College of New York. She's stand up because you
stand up.
No, here's the thing.
All
right, go. All right, here's the thing. Wait, let me tell you why she's amazing. City College of New York is really powerful to me because she's one of my students. Was when I graduated. She immediately did a short film and then entered her film in the CUNY Animation Festival. I mean, we're talking like literally hundreds of films out of 24 campuses. She won Best Animation, and that is why this is important. And now she's being actively approached by studios. That's why it's important. I'm going to shut up because I'm just going to keep crying. It's important, and I want them to.
Yeah.
It's just important because they might have opportunities that I didn't have.
Right.
And I feel so lucky. I don't know, so it's hormones, but it's amazing.
I'll piggyback off that. Like, I think so. When dealing with diversity in animation, It's kind of following up with what you mentioned. Like, first of all, the more diverse like your artist pool when you're making a project, or anything, music, whatever it is, it's like diversity is a beautiful thing that helps you because you get a combination. It's like if you're cooking a meal and you've got access to all the spices. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, they used to send people to like different parts of the world because you couldn't get sugar over here. You had to go all the way over there to get that. And if you got a studio where you're making an animated movie and every single person in your artist pool is the same, it's gonna be bland as fuck. Excuse me, bland. I almost made it. It's gonna be bland. And I'm not just talking about like I'm a black man. I'm not talking about you need black people. You need black people. You need people like Asian, Latino, white. You know what I mean? You need because we all got different flavors. And I mean, it's just cultural things that you bring to the table, which is why you were like, don't change to try to fit somebody else's style. Be dope in your way, because when you're working on a project, one of the responsibilities of like supervisors and directors when they're casting, I can speak for animation because that's my field, but one of the things that they're responsible for is casting appropriately based on the artists that they have to work with. So when they get a shot, like we're working on Spies in Disguise right now. Will Smith's the main character, and there's some moments where he says some stuff. They're like, yo, he just said that line the exact same way I heard Munn or Matt say some stuff when we were hanging like the other day. Cast that to Matt because he knows he's culturally familiar with that type of talk. You know what I'm saying? And that type of swag. Or like somebody else might get cast at that, but they'll be like, make sure you go talk to Matt or such and such because they can give you a little insight on like that little look that we want. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like that kind of thing is important. And you're gonna see as these, this industry gets more and more diverse. Gender diversity is important too. Before, when I first started at Sony, we would have like 60 animators. It'd be like 2 women, literally. And now at Blue Sky, there's like it's like a way higher percentage of women animating, and that's a testament to like just how much more exposure people have to this stuff, and also the sense of like, yo, that's not necessarily a male thing to be an artist, you know what I mean, or that kind of artist, whatever. So point is that our projects benefit from being able to have that diversity. And I get why you're emotional, because as a black person, I see us underrepresented like everything, you know what I'm saying? And it's a lot of it is exposure and opportunities and stuff. So when you show up to talk to like a school and you see like, dang, it's a lot more African Americans here than would have been 10 years ago, it's special. It is special, you know what I'm saying? And so that's why I think it's important that, people like myself and others, like if you're like as a woman, you go and you speak to, especially like little kids, little girls will be like, oh, I could be a director, or I could be this and that, where they might not have been thinking that before. And so I think that's key, you know what I mean? So that's all I have to say about that.
Beautiful. Before you go, Dre, I just want to interject. So Jen, she's helping me out with the camera in the back, and we were both PAs in the story department. And in speaking about diversity with Spies in Disguise, the lead character played by Will Smith is black. And Jen and I would have these conversations often where I would be like, a black man actually wouldn't say something like that, and that's why it's important to have the animators and things to come in with the antics and the movements with the actual gestures more so true to character. And then also we have women characters in this movie, and it's an action movie. And Jen and I also were talking about she probably wouldn't keep her heels on with running. Like she'd have to kick them off, or they'd break. They might have to convert or something. Right. But that's the importance of having more women in part of the animation department, more women in part of story and things like that, because those are nuances that get overlooked.
And then make it more authentic.
Yeah, like that was important with the Black Panther when Lupita's character takes off her shoe. I'm like, yes, I would not keep.
That scene where she whips off that wig, and when I was like, that was amazing. And then she goes, whoosh, and then she's like, that was
no man had that idea. Right. That's not a man's. A woman was like, yo, make her do that, and it made it. That's a moment.
Watching my aunts though. When I watch Black Panther, she had the wig on. She was talking shit about the wig.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, my aunts be like, yeah, they'll take their wigs off when they start. Yeah, that's what they call snatching wigs.
Yeah. But Dre, we'll let you conclude the answers to the question.
For me, it's definitely important diversity because if you notice anytime, we might like here, this looks diverse right here.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you go into like writing rooms, you go into like the exec rooms, the people that actually have the power, it doesn't look like this, right? Let's be clear. True diversity to me is diversity of power. So a lot of times when people are talking about diversity, I think they're not really looking at the big picture. So I think for us, more people of color getting into this space is good, but also more people getting into like the director roles and the writing roles and the people that actually fund the films as well, right? That's actually more important, I think. For instance, who's seen Hidden Figures?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in the movie, there's a couple points in there that are very like the tension is very high. It's those moments where you're those aha moments and they feel good and all that. Well, Katherine Johnson, she's still alive. The girl that's played by Taraji P. Henson, she's still alive. And they didn't even contact her about the film that they did about her. How disrespectful is
It's crazy,
right? And in the film when the bathroom sign that says whites only, when the guy bangs it and knocks it down and all that, that's a lie. That didn't happen. She still had to walk a quarter of a mile to another building to use the bathroom for her entire career. She had to do that. And then when she gave the final equation to get the guy back home to Earth, she didn't get to sit in the room. She was still in the basement. And then after that happened, after she saved this man's life, she stayed in the basement her entire career. But they want to change these things, which is what they call the white savior complex in film. If I was funding that movie, that wouldn't have been in there. We would have had it 100% accurate. So I think diversity is good, but we also need to look at diversity of power. And I think this is the first step here of achieving that, and hopefully, a lot of you guys will grow up to be, writers and executive producers and stuff like that. So that's how I look at diversity and why it's so important in this industry, in every industry really, because nobody's going to respect our stories like we do, and that goes for anybody. That goes for if you try to tell a story about anything about Russia, there better be Russians writing that story and backing it. You know what I mean? If you're telling stories about Latin countries or anything that's happening or something happening in an African country, it should be told by the people that actually live the experience. Because 9 times out of 10, the people that are writing it, if they don't live the experience, they might not mean to culturally smudge the story, but that's what happens. So
yeah, all the best like films, man, are the ones where like the filmmakers take the time to like really immerse themselves in like whatever the subject matter is that they're dealing with.
Well,
whether
I think
you know what I mean?
I think when
What's
say
your
if like here's an example, Spike Lee doing Chirac, right? I think him being a black man is one thing, but him not going over there and talking to the people in Southside Chicago, he should have been right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
and so it's not just about like some people say, well, I studied real hard before I started working on this script. Please. Yeah, shit. You know what I'm saying? did you? And I've talked to people at Blue Sky we'll talk about certain subjects. One dude I had to check when he was talking about Chicago. I said, have you ever walked the streets of Southside Chicago? He was like, no. I said, shut your mouth, bro. Stop talking about stuff you don't know about. You know what I mean? And I think in film, a lot of times people do have that level of power where they can do what they want. They think just because they know somebody or just because they read an article, that's enough. That's disrespectful, man. You know?
All right. So thank you all. Okay, so honestly, I don't really have that much animation news to recap right now. I'll start by saying Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse won an Oscar for Best Animated Feature Film. So if y'all know me, y'all know how excited I was for that. Y'all know how excited I was for the movie, for the experience. Like, if you follow me on Twitter, that's a majority of the things I retweet have been related to like behind the scenes content or talkthroughs and walkthroughs and like character designs and viz dev work and animation behind the scenes, all related to Into the Spider-Verse for like months, I feel like. So yes, I was as excited as if like I was a part of it, you know. And since we're talking about the Spider-Verse, I want to talk about the art of book being super, super delayed. I'm going to assume it's out of print. However, I ordered mine back in December, and now it's saying that the expected delivery date is in May. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous without some sort of official update from the publishing company. And Jen, who you heard on the last episode, did advise me to, I guess, like tweet the publisher or something to find out like what's going on, because I do not want to cancel my order and reorder it because I am in fear that I would be placed further along in the line. So I'm keeping my order exactly where it is. But like, what? Like, why is it like this? Like, you know? So that's that. I am probably pronouncing this wrong, but I'm going to say Bao won for Best Animated Short. And I did really like that short. I love the fact that it's two women that directed the short. I have to be truthful and say that my two favorites of that category, I mean, I have three, but my two, like Late Afternoon would be like my third. Then I would say One Small Step would be like the runner up. And my favorite one was Weekends. And like, I really wish one of those, well, at least I liked One Small Step a lot. Like, it hit me. I guess I liked One Small Step and I like Weekends because there are both stories I could relate to. One Small Step being the passing of a parent, and Weekends being the story of growing up with two parents that are separated and going from home to home, essentially, and what that experience is like. Those are two stories that were real personal to me, so that's why I gravitated to them. Whereas Bao, like, I could understand. I'm not a mother. I don't have any younger siblings, but I could understand what a mother dealing with a child that's growing up would have to deal with. And I know how significant, how important it was for two women to win in this category and what that means for women in the future. And being that one of the women too was a woman of color, that's very important. However, I just feel like the subject matter in Weekends, and I like that visual aesthetic anyway. I really would have wanted those. But this is a good time for a shameless plug if you don't know what I'm talking about. I have a blog post where I recapped, or I did like a recap. I would say I watched not only all the films that were nominated for Best Animated Short, but I watched the films that submitted to the category as well. So I made a blog post with all of the trailers so you can check it out, so you can have a better idea of what I'm talking about, of the nominees and the ones that submitted to the category. You just can type in, search my site for like Oscars or Best Animated Short. Or even if you wanted to put Bao in there, it should come up, and check it out so you can know what I'm talking about. The real important animation-esque news I have is that in April, Diverse Tunes will be at two FestCon sort of things, right? The first we have is the Black Web Fest, and that will be at the National Black Theater in Harlem on Saturday, April 13th from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. We will have a panel there in the early afternoon. You can find more information at blackwebfest.eventbrite.com. I will also be at the opening party, which will be on Friday, April 12th. So if you're going to be there, let me know, and we can like meet and hang out and all sorts of stuff like that. The following weekend, Diverse Tunes panel with different panelists, so don't think you're going to see the same thing twice, will be at the Kids Comic Con. That's on Saturday, April 20th at Bronx Community College from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And you can find more information about that at kidscomiccon.com. So both of these, the cons and the fest, they have a bunch of social media if you want to follow them on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can do all of that. I know Black Web Fest for sure is very active on Twitter and Instagram. So and who's Victoria Coker, who's the founder of it, she's been posting a lot of stuff leading up to it. There were VIP tickets, like a whole host of things. So you're going to be able to start seeing different people that's going to be a part of it besides us, of course. And that's really the animation news. Oh, no, you know what? Actually, at the time of this recording, I am working at a VR pop-up in the city, and that's been a really, really interesting experience. Like, I don't know much, barely anything about VR. So being a facilitator for this experience has really been opening my eyes to like the possibilities of storytelling, like to see how you can create an animated short and have it an interactive and immersive experience for the viewer. It has really like my mind blown. There's documentaries that are that immersive, and I'm hearing this word immersive so much, but VR, learning about it and being around people that like are super interested has been fun. And also AR, which I didn't know was a thing, but now I am learning that is a thing, has been really, really cool. So I don't want to blast where this is. I'm sure you can probably find it. But if you're interested in it at the time that you're hearing this, you should reach out to me ASAP so I can just like personally give you the information so you can read more and check it out if you're going to be in the NYC area. It's going on up until March 23rd. So don't wait too long to hit me up to find out more about this. But yeah, that's my animation news. Once again, I would like to thank you for listening to this episode. I am finding my groove, and I'm hoping that you all are enjoying what you're listening, the content that I'm putting out in this capacity. I hope that you all are also enjoying what I'm doing on Instagram. I'm starting to post more. I hope you are enjoying what I'm doing on Twitter, if you're following me on Twitter. And I'm just super excited to have this now as an outlet to further express myself, further connect with people. And I will also like to say, if you are enjoying what you're listening to and you're listening on iTunes, please leave a review and help my podcast reach more people. Share it. Let me know if you're sharing it. Let me know when you're listening. Even if you don't use the hashtag, just text me, or I don't know, post a screenshot or something. That would be fun. And I would like to thank the panelists who have been a part of this particular panel. I hope to see some of you guys at our panels in April if you're able to make it. Again, if you want to connect with me and learn more about the panels and various things that I'm doing, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Simply Robotics, SimplyRobotix. I'm also on Facebook. My website is simplyrobotics.com. I feel like I've covered everything now. As far as up next and next episode, I'm still trying to figure things out. I'm trying to figure out if it should be another solo. Should I have a guest? I guess it's been a little bit of a while since it's been only me on an episode, so I may do that. But thanks again. I hope you have an awesome day, an awesome week, and until next time, bye.